Hello everyone, welcome to the third of these Nerd Consultants E3 podcasts. I'm joined once again by my good friends Elliot and Reese. I decided to swap it around this time because Elliot's on the left of the call we're doing at the minute and Reese is on the right.
Hello everyone.
This party's getting boring. Let's bounce.
So,
Carl finally refers to us as good friends again.
yes, I have.
Good friends, best of friends, best boys.
So, after it turns out we were not on the side of the internet when it comes to the Square Enix conference.
Yeah, we were really in the minority. I watched. I went back to Josh Scorcher's stream just after the Capcom one. He rated like Square's beneath Ubisoft.
Yeah,
on the same level. And even Pro Jared said that the Square one was worse than Ubisoft.
I've seen a few people say the Square one was worse than the Ubisoft one. I mean, speaking of which, Ren's home apparently.
Hey.
So so Ren's on the podcast. Welcome Ren to the podcast, everyone.
Greetings. Nintendo is good, and I like their games sometimes.
We're doing Capcom.
Podcast.
Oh, Capcom is good also, but I wasn't massive on their presentation.
There's a thing for the day. So we.
Wait, Capcom had a presentation?
Well, he said, "Wait, Capcom's had a presentation." So yeah, well, Capcom did announce, unlike usual, they were going to have a presentation this year, and we decided we were going to cover it. And we'll go straight to the end on this one. It wasn't a very good presentation.
Nope.
It was actually, in my opinion, it's the worst one so far.
Okay, I'm a bit conflicted about this because while I thought it was, in many ways, the worst one so far, in the fact that in many ways, it did show off more games I was interested in than the Ubisoft show.
Well, most of what we saw, we only pretty much saw one new trailer for Monster Hunter Stories. Everything else was either old or it's a localization.
Okay, so let's go through the shorthand of what was on this thing. Opened it up with DLCs. They announced DLC is coming for Resident Evil Village.
Wait, they talked about Resident Evil Village? It was so brief. And
Yeah.
they said nothing new. They could have summed up what they were going to say in the conference with a single Twitter post.
Yeah, we're doing DLC for Resident Evil Village. That's all they had to do. I mean, I don't understand why they didn't show like a screenshot or something like that. So that could have gone a long way.
Yeah. I mean, at least with Breath of the Wild, when they were announcing, Breath of the Wild's getting a sequel, they at least showed some, cutscenes. They at least showed us, gave us a bit of a teaser. They showed nothing in this.
So
Yeah, the only thing we saw was white text on a black background.
So, guys, we've all been playing Resident Evil Village. We all really liked it.
Yeah.
What are you hoping?
Yeah, definitely.
What are you hoping for in possible in this now confirmed Resident Evil Village DLC?
Well, I was hoping for more expansion on the four main big bosses.
Oh yeah, you saw Lady D and the one.
Fish Dude.
I feel like it's guaranteed we're probably going to be getting some more stuff for the Mercenaries mode.
I think it's going to be a mode where we play as Chris again, like the first DLC in Resident Evil 7, and it's going to be him going to the It's going to be following up on that thing at the end of the game where he says, "I'm going to the BSA Europe headquarters to find out what the hell's going on, why there were bioweapons in the village." I'd say that's what I reckon it's going to be.
Well,
Yeah, I can
that's
see
not
that.
too much for a DLC, though. That sounds more like a whole sequel.
You'd be surprised. The Resident Evil ones, they can do these things that would seem like they'd be sequels, but then they sort of condense it into like a 4 or 5 hour extra campaign.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4 did a couple... Sorry, not 4, 7 did a couple things like that. Actually, 4 did as well, technically.
Well, what they did with 7 is they had one where you play as Chris, and one where you played as Jack Baker's brother.
They had more than that. They had the one which is kind of like a challenge where you had to try and escape a bedroom without Marguerite knowing. There was one where you were playing as Zoe.
There was a lot of really good... If they can bring that for Village, I think there could be something interesting in it.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, remember there was that demo Maiden where you played as a person trying to escape from Demetresque's dungeon. Me and Ren streamed it on the channel one time. It was like 30 minutes long.
Yeah, I remember that.
We never got any. Unless there was something in like a letter that me and Ren did in really stupid voices, but that never got followed up on.
No, I think it's got more like background setting.
But still, I mean, even then, at least in Resident Evil 7, when we still got the demo from the game in a videotape. In that one.
Yeah, I give you that. That was true. So, and there was a story to that one. It was this film crew that had been filming this haunted house show had sort of been taken prisoner. So so there was that context for what was happening.
Yeah. So.
How do you guys feel about other than that? Ren is just, for the audio listeners, Ren is trying to distract us in the background.
And succeeding.
I'm not distracting. I'm enhancing the discussion. You'll all be having erections now, so you'll be like really, really excited about whatever you're talking about.
Ren, this is going on the website, you asshole.
You were the one.
All that stuff goes on the website, you know.
I need a holiday. I need a holiday away from him.
Well, unfortunately, you can't leave the country now. Third wave.
Oh, touche. Yeah, no. The good news, good news is that that should change. That should change soon with more people getting vaccinated. But they also talked about RE-Verse, this Resident Evil Battle Royale, which came with people who pre-ordered Resident Evil Village, but it didn't go live at the same time. But it will come out next month, apparently.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, it didn't really feel like they were showing off much. It was more just a reminder of, oh, hey, this exists.
Yeah, is it just me, or does this game not look... In terms of graphics, it doesn't look very good.
It doesn't.
What we saw was pretty much what we saw last time with the footage.
At least I saw what Jack Baker looks like in action. He wasn't in the last trailer for it.
Yeah.
But, are you guys kind of interested in the idea of playing RE-Verse?
Well, it's actually to do, innit? Because it looks like it'll just be like deathmatch.
I'm not really, but that's just because I'm not really that big in traditional multiplayer games.
Yeah,
multiplayer shooters.
I'm not the biggest fan of Battle Royale games, so that's obviously not going to help out. I mean, the last Battle Royale I really got into was Mario 35. Can't play that anymore.
Because Mario's dead.
Even then, Amelia, just like Square Enix, you're kind of in the minority. A lot of people didn't really like Mario 35.
That surprised me. I proper got into that game.
Honestly, I hate to admit, but I'm kind of in that category where I wasn't that big a fan of it. I much prefer Tetris 99, honestly.
That's okay.
I'm a much bigger fan of Mario than Tetris, which is very surprising.
How about, did you guys play Pac-Man 99 yet?
Yeah,
no, I haven't yet.
I played a little bit.
What do you think of Pac-Man 99, Reese?
I thought it was good, but it's quite overdone with the visuals. It feels makes your eyes bleed.
Yeah, I didn't really like Pac-Man 99. I thought... I
think a lot more modern-day Pac-Man games do that, though.
What about...
Like when you take a look at the championship... Well, yeah.
So, next thing for me was the best part of this whole conference was Monster Hunter Stories 2 got a new trailer.
Yeah,
pretty
much the only brand new thing.
Didn't really show off much different about it, but they did announce that on June 25th we get a demo, and it's going to basically be the beginning of the game, and all our experience carries over to the main game.
Yeah, they said it's going to be the first couple of hours of gameplay.
First couple of hours, that's great. I really like when Nintendo... well, I know this is a Capcom project, but I like it when Nintendo does these things with their third parties and say you can play first few hours and then that carries over into the main game. So it feels like you're getting the game a little bit early.
I want to probably say this trailer made me go from kind of intrigued by it to me kind of likely to get it now. It actually really convinced me that this does seem like a good game, like a really good game.
The thing is, though, the person they really have to win over is the Reeses of the world, the big Monster Hunter fans.
Yeah.
Well, I was a fan of the original 3DS game. I thought that was good.
I thought, from what I've heard, Monster Hunter fans in terms of Monster Hunter fans, you're in the minority on that one. Most Monster Hunter fans were not fans of Stories 1.
Yeah, well, most of those fans who weren't keen on it were those who only jumped on board when Worlds was released.
Right,
so
and
they're not like the traditional fans.
Yeah,
it's more the wackiness.
So the old school fans kind of liked it, and the newer fans weren't huge fans of it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Meanwhile, I'm just as a JRPG fan, it looks like a pretty good one.
I do like, although I was watching this conference with Ren, and he was really saying they're not really called Monsties, are they? And I just like, yes, they are, Ren.
That's such a terrible name.
But it was in the first game and the anime.
What do you think about the story, the idea of the story they got for this one compared with the first game? What do you think the comparisons between the two at the minute?
Well, a lot of people think it could be an alternate universe due to the way the timelines aren't adding up to the previous plot.
Yeah, although there are some recurring characters from the first game coming into it. So that would make some sense.
So it's a bit of a Xenoblade Chronicles 2 situation then.
That's what we're thinking, yeah, with the age of Ratha and Red, and who you played as in the first game. Those don't really make sense timeline-wise.
For the record, I know what the connection between Xenoblade 1 and 2 is, but for the purposes of people who haven't seen it, who haven't played it...
We won't spoil it.
Oh, we will not spoil it, but it is glorious.
I still haven't finished it, I hate to admit.
I honestly...
I really need to get back on it.
I really like it.
Well, Ali, it's only 80 hours. You squeeze that in.
I mean, I'm already 40 hours in, so I am invested.
So, they also announced some DLC, some very early on DLC for Monster Hunter Stories 2, that you're going to have the Palamute as a partner, as a Monstie partner.
Yes, the first round of DLC for it.
That's
in collaboration with Rise.
That's a cool collab, I think. I think that's quite good.
Yeah, because all the new fans love the Palamute in Rise.
I get desperate to that. I love Palamute.
What? Okay, here's another thing about it though. This kind of moves into the segues a little bit into the next one, because they talked about they reiterated a lot of what we already knew about what you get if you transfer if you have save data from both games on your Switch. You do get some crossover bonuses like Newt's custom skins, and you can make your Palico look in the game in Rise look like the one from Stories 2. You can get the Rise costumes for your characters in Stories 2.
Yeah, the base armor for Kimura you can take over to Stories.
Do you think, on that basis, you're going to take advantage of the crossover between the two games?
Well, I'll probably do the crossover with the Kimura armor. I'm not keen on the Stories armor in Rise with its transition.
Yeah, I agree on that one. I'm probably going to take more advantage in Stories 2 than I am in Rise.
Yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it came to like showing like, oh, here's what comes next to Rise, I don't think they really showed much outside of cosmetics.
Yeah, because with the updates now, it's not a major one like version 2 or version 3. Instead, we're getting 3.1 to 3.2. So it's more minor stuff.
Yeah, there are some event quests that are coming down the line.
Even then, with those event quests, unlike previous games, we aren't getting special armors. Like in previous games like Generations Ultimate, we got like Samus costumes or Link costumes.
Do you know what? I would say the Link one is coming in a couple of months. I think that's going to be part of the Zelda 35th anniversary.
Because the only thing we saw on the roadmap was just Capcom exclusives. But in the past, we've got costumes like Dante, Ryu, and Chun-Li.
I could see more of that.
Yet.
I can see more. Again,
in that case, I think what would be kind of cool is if we got some like Resident Evil themed costumes for it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
With Village out.
A lot of people thinking, well, we've just had Village, so why haven't this been announced for Rise like DLC? Because this is what they've done with previous entries for like Capcom and Nintendo.
Oh, Lady D armor for female hunters. That would be great.
Come on, Albert Wesker armor.
Okay, on that basis, actually, do you think we see on that basis, because of the... I want to say we're recording this prior to the Nintendo Direct, so, and this will probably be uploaded in the middle of the Nintendo Direct. How do you guys think, do you think we'll see an announcement about Monster Hunter Rise in the Nintendo Direct around, like, Zelda's 35th anniversary?
I think it's possible, because there is a history, because the Master Sword has been in the games for Monster Hunter before, as a sword and shield weapon.
I play the sword and shield weapon, I need this to be real!
Just go back and play the previous games then, Cal.
My thought is, honestly, I feel like it could happen, but I don't have my hopes up. Because I feel like, just definitely at this point, Monster Hunter Rise is Nintendo exclusive. I feel like if that was the case, that if we were going to get like Zelda stuff, we probably would have been more likely to get it in the Capcom one than the Nintendo one. Because if Capcom's talking about Monster Hunter Rise, what's much for Nintendo to explain about it?
Well, I think they might insist on it because, again, Zelda is very much Nintendo property. But that being said...
Well, if that's the case, then why didn't they... If that's the case, then they likely would have saved Mario and Rabbids, the new Mario and Rabbids game, for Nintendo rather than showing that in the Ubisoft one. Yeah,
and I think that's because Ubisoft is developing that one. Nintendo have never shown off those games in any Nintendo Directs as far as I'm aware. I don't recall them ever showing them off in any Nintendo Directs, but...
no, they didn't, I don't think.
We'll talk a little bit more about the Direct at the end of this, because there is a tangent to this one, but... Next thing they showed off was great...
Actually, Cal, just to circle back, the reason why we may not see many Nintendo DLC for Monster Hunter is that Rise is coming to PC.
Oh, the PC.
And Nintendo may not want their intellectual property coming to the PC.
That is true.
That's very fair, but I don't think we have a release date for the PC version yet, do we?
It's not official, but 2022 is what I've heard. Apparently it was in that leaked document.
Yeah, I would likely see it in 2022.
So here's the thing, though. If it is coming, it's going to be exclusive to the Switch version.
Yeah, that's pretty much guaranteed.
Also, for the record, what's everyone's main weapon on Monster Hunter Rise? I'm Sword and
Great
Shield.
Sword.
You're Great Sword, I'm Sword and Shield. Elliot,
Dual blades.
Dual blades. So none of us use ranged weapons. That's great for some of the fights.
Which is funny, because did you guys see the latest Capcom polls?
Yeah, no. I did actually.
One of his popular weapons is the light bow gun, but not
really.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
it's actually used on like speed runs.
I see. Yeah.
That's understandable.
So
I just like fast attacks. So.
Well, I will say though, the way they're selling Rise at the minute is so good, and Rise is one of the best games to come out this year, very much so.
Yeah, especially now he's had his version 3 with his actual ending now.
Like
it's definitely the best multiplayer game to come out this year so far.
I'd say the 3 games that are fighting for my game of the year at the minute are Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Persona 5 Strikers, and Monster Hunter Rise.
You really put Ratchet and Clank that high?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Oh wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm missing out. I know. You don't need to brag.
That's why I'm ending it there on that one. So let's move on to the last actual game talk they had, which was about Great Ace Attorney Chronicles finally coming to Europe and America. We knew about this months ago, but they went in a bit more detail about the gameplay in it.
I am so excited for this one. I love the Ace Attorney series.
But does it kind of take the impact out of it, considering it's just a localization?
A little bit, but it's. But we always talk about this idea of we want these games that never came over here, and I think it's quite good. I think we should encourage developers to do this whole thing of going back, because we've had some really great things to come out of it. We've had I don't know if any of you guys played the Trials of Mana remake that came.
No, I didn't.
No, it's on my list.
It's very easy an RPG, as in I never died at all, and playing on normal mode, but it's a very good RPG. Honestly, it nearly made my 10 best games of 2020. But that being said, the multiplayer, you don't get the multiplayer like you would in the original. So if you want that multiplayer effect, just get the collection of mana. It's on that thing as well. But it's great that there's stuff like that that's been happening. How do you think overall with one of the things that surprised me about this is it's coming to PlayStation 4 and Steam.
Because haven't the old PlayStations now been ported to PC?
They have, but not PlayStation. And I thought Nintendo was very cagey about that.
The first 3 games came onto PlayStation.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did like a good couple years ago. I think 2019.
Oh, right. So they came over when it went to the Switch as well.
Yeah.
So Nintendo's not keeping a stranglehold on that franchise anymore. That's surprising. I would have thought that'd be one they'd want to keep.
Oh yeah, and also don't forget, Phoenix Wright was in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Nintendo doesn't own Phoenix Wright, but you would, so he can appear on these consoles very easily enough.
Yeah.
But
it does feel weird hearing Ace Attorney for PlayStation because the Ace Attorney series have been for so long associated with mostly portable Nintendo consoles. So it's just super weird to be hearing, it's coming to PlayStation. Yeah.
Put it this way: Ren was in the room was still in the room at this point, and he was and he's never really played Ace Attorney. He trying to explain to him what Ace Attorney is just a laugh and a half, because it's like, yeah, no, seriously, that's just how it is in this world.
Yeah.
It kind of feels weird that the legal system's still like that, considering that Ace Attorney's core is supposed to be a mocking representation of the Japanese legal system. So it feels a bit weird that that it's now a British setting, even Victorian Britain. But
though that being said, two things I found really funny about this. First of all, the main character is called Ryunosuke, who's from Japan. He still has a British accent.
That's an interesting choice. And then,
second of all, the detective's name is Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah, because they've got some copyright from Arthur Conan Doyle.
Well, no, no, they don't.
Why don't just give him a different name rather than Sherlock Holmes? Like, oh boy, I cannot wait.
It's a different name.
But boy, I cannot wait for him to face his arch rival, Gillian Mames Moriarty.
I love that idea, but I'll tell you right now, they wouldn't need to go if they did. Sherlock Holmes is public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
So it's not as if
why do you think there have been so many adaptations of it?
And future books with things like Sherlock Holmes on Titanic and stuff like that. That's real, by the way. That's a real book.
Trust me, there's like a B-movie Sherlock Holmes story, which is literally a Sherlock Holmes versus dinosaurs.
Oh, I've seen that. It's amazing.
I need to watch it. I'm planning on going like a B-movie binge at some point.
It'll melt your brain cells, but it's great.
Oh yeah, and don't forget we also had the manga of the adaptation of the BBC's version.
Yeah, I've got those.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? What do you think of the actual gameplay of Great Ace Attorney Chronicles?
It looks good. It didn't seem that different from previous games.
They don't really change that much, though, in all fairness. Like, they added a couple extra gameplay elements, and that's about it.
in fact, when they try to add a lot to the gameplay, they often end up ruining what was really good.
Yeah.
It's like the Danganronpa. It's pretty much the Danganronpa series, but it's like that. Danganronpa rarely ever changed because they kind of know. Yeah, we know what our audience likes.
Oh god, what was the last Phoenix Wright game I played? It was the one that Fiery Joker reviewed in the crossover.
It was. Oh yeah, the one with Professor Layton, right?
I played the one with Professor Layton. But I must be honest, I really liked it when the Ace Attorney games came back in 2019 in those remasters. But there is some new mechanics that have been added to the games that feel sorely missed when you go back and play those old ones. So I'm kind of glad we're getting something newish with Ace Attorney. I'd like them.
Honestly, I would like to have the 3DS games come on to be ported over at some point.
Well, you never know, Elliot. It might be in an hour and a half.
Hey. Actually, in fact, we've been talking about the Capcom conference for as long as Capcom's conference went on.
So, before we go into the last sort of thoughts on this one, there was a brief look at the Street Fighter esports scene and what's going on with that.
Yeah, brief. As in, they spent longer on that than they did on the games.
One of the things I thought is, in this point, obviously they didn't have something to show off, but why not then end that with a trailer for Street Fighter 6? Which we know they're aiming for next year with Street Fighter 6. Again, leaked memo, but obviously they didn't have something to show. But that would have been if they do have a good gameplay state for that one. Why wouldn't I would have thought that would be a good way to end the conference?
Yeah, or just ended with a splash screen of the title.
That could have been good.
Yeah.
Just say, yeah, you know it's real. Here's the confirmation, it's real. But do you guys think that would have improved this conference a lot if it had just been a flash title, Street Fighter 6 coming 2022?
As someone who's not a Street Fighter fan now.
Reese?
I would also say no, because we start to sit through about 15 minutes of boring esports.
Yeah.
See, the thing is, I'll say this right now, I actually like watching competitive Street Fighter. It reminds me how bad I am at the game, but I like watching it. But I didn't need that long on esports.
Yeah.
Like, the esports I watch the most is fighting games, particularly Smash Brothers. I watch a lot of Smash Brothers esports. But to me, it seemed like I don't think. Put it this way, I wouldn't think Nintendo would ever put this much effort into their Smash Brothers esports scene in one of their directs.
Yeah.
No, they don't. They would still try just advertise more Smash Bros. Rather than say, "Oh, here's the esports." Okay, moving on. Because Nintendo really don't interact much with the esports community, do they?
No,
they run it. They did a bit better last year, post controversy, with trying to rebuild the scene with whoever they had left. And but other than that, they haven't. And they did hold some tournaments to get around. But in terms of that, Nintendo's interaction with the esports scene was mostly been negative.
Yeah, because don't forget, they were trying for years to shut down all the tournaments of Melee.
Yeah, and they did again last year with the which led to the #FreeMelee thing going on, which also inadvertently cancelled a Splatoon tournament.
Yeah.
I still don't understand why they're trying to get rid of Melee. If people enjoy Melee, let them play it. Just go away, Nintendo. Stop it.
Well, personally, I think Ultimate's the best one, but I wouldn't take anything away from the people that like Melee.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you guys watch much Street Fighter esports? Or is it not really for you?
No, if any fighting games I tend to watch, it's only Dragon Ball Fighters.
That's a good one to watch.
I don't tend to watch esports altogether. It's never really interested me. If there's any I'd have to say I would watch, it would probably be either the Splatoon or Smash Bros. 1. Maybe a little bit of Soul Calibur, that's about it though.
I don't really like watching how they do the Splatoon ones, because they always sort of zoom out and then zoom in, and it's really hard to keep track of what's going on.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of what Blizzard tried to do when they broadcast Overwatch.
Yeah, that's almost impossible to watch as well. Because like, there's some amazing moments.
Sort of style.
There's some amazing moments in those matches, and I don't get to see half of it.
Yep.
It would have been better if they sort of made it a bit more interactive. They held it on a particular site or app, and they made it a bit more interactive, so you could actively pick which screen you wanted to watch.
Yeah.
But so here, so we all didn't think this was a very good Capcom conference, despite the fact there was probably more games that we're going to pick up and be interested in talking about in this than there was in Ubisoft.
Well, the thing with me that I think is that we did not need this conference.
It didn't need to happen.
There's actually no point to it. With Resident Evil, they could have summed up in a Twitter post, and what we got from Rise and Ace Attorney, they could have just put that in a Nintendo conference.
What about you, Reese? Is there anything salvageable about this?
Well, the only thing we got was a new trailer for Stories, which Nintendo themselves then rebroadcast during the Capcom conference anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So it wasn't even unique to the Capcom conference.
I think. Go ahead, Elliot.
Do you want to know what? Do you want to know why I think this one? Why Capcom had the conference? They had an open day. Because there was a single day when no conferences were happening. They were probably just thinking, we need another conference. The Square and Microsoft are both doing it on the same day. We need another one. Capcom, you do it. Okay.
I get a sense, here's my thought process on this one. I get a sense that the ESA left this place open in case PlayStation wanted at the last minute to come in and do a state of play.
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't happen, so they said, Capcom, you have it.
Especially because looking on YouTube, it has just been Sony doing random gameplay trailers being thrown up willy-nilly.
Okay, before we go into the last couple of things we're going to talk about today, is there anything that is in the leaked memo that you thought this was going to this was even going to turn up in this conference, so you're surprised didn't?
Well, I'd admit it's not that much.
Not really. The only thing I would have wanted, which I knew already we weren't going to get, was something Devil May Cry related. But I knew we weren't going to get that, considering how that has not been that long since Devil May Cry 5's come out. And like just last year we got, or this year, I'm not sure, we got Devil May Cry 5 for PS5. So I did not think we would be getting anything new from that anyway.
At the risk of at the risk of making Reese and Elliot shudder at the thought of me playing Mega Man, I was kind of hoping for Mega Man 12 in this.
That would have been good, actually. I would have liked a Mega Man game.
Yeah, and just have somebody else play it.
Now here's the thing. Capcom could still reveal some stuff in the Nintendo Direct. Do we think that they put anything in the Nintendo Direct? Because I think there's one thing from them they didn't put in this that they're going to put in the Nintendo Direct.
I personally don't, because I think they've had their shot and they've just not taken it.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me, if there was something that they probably think, we could just put this in Nintendo Direct, it's your own conference. Put it in your own conference.
Okay, here's my...
It doesn't make any sense for that.
Okay,
for them to just put a Nintendo's one.
Yeah, here's my thought process on this. I think we're going to see in the Direct Resident Evil Revelations 3. We know it's a thing. It was leaked. I think we see either that or Resident Evil 3 cloud version, which also got leaked. In the Nintendo Direct, and they were under contractual obligation not to show them in their presentation. This sort of thing does happen. It's part of the contract negotiations. Anything else like that you reckon might happen?
Not really.
Not at this point now.
Okay, so that's kind of our thought process of this one. I got a chance to demo that game we said we were going to talk about, the Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin demo. I got to try it out, and despite what a lot of people are saying about it, I kind of like the gameplay. To be honest, I actually thought this one's quite cool. This idea is you're swapping between job systems sort of mid-combat. So like you can have the mage, you have equipment and set up for the mage, or you have equipment set up for the swordsman. and all that business, and you're playing, and it's like you're playing essentially a Souls game with those mechanics, and it's really cleverly implemented.
It's kind of interesting that it's a Souls, like, considering the fact that the combat, like, I'm mostly quoting from Pro Jared, but the combat looks quite a bit like something you would find in a Ninja Gaiden game. It
is not Ninja Gaiden-like, I'm telling you that right now. The trailer made it look more like that than it actually turned out. It is way more... I got way more of a feel of Dark Souls playing it. As particularly... Actually, one of the games I really got a feel of playing it was in terms of the fact you need to knock down a stamina system to get that sort of like MP burst from the crystal, which we saw as like the enemies getting crystallized, is from Sekiro more than anything else.
Would you say it's like in difficulty as well as like Dark Souls?
Yes, it's quite difficult. I've died quite a significant amount of times.
Okay, sounds like it's right up my alley then.
So I noticed a lot of people saying this was the final straw for them, and E3 sucks, and it shouldn't come back next year. And the Summer Games Fest was way better, and Sony knew not to do this thing because it was going to be bad. I think that's almost every one of those statements is bollocks. Yeah. But I'm interested in your opinions, guys. What do you think about it? I'll start with Elliot since he got his hand up first.
Actually, I'll let Reese go first. I have a fair bit to say about it.
Sure. Well, in my opinion, this one so far has been below average. Most of the time, what we've seen, it's not even been game related. We've seen esports. We saw the Borderlands film. We saw that werewolf stuff take up a lot of time. And then, did you guys see what Take-Two did?
Yeah, that was bad.
No. What did they do?
They did a whole panel on equality for like 15 minutes and didn't mention any games.
Now, to be fair, it's a good thing to do a panel on. This is an excellent thing to do a panel on, but not in a live stream like this. This should have been done on their own channel rather than take up so much time of the E3 show.
Yeah, especially because everyone was spamming emojis in the chat and saying, "Where's GTA 6?" Because we know that's happening.
Well, one, we don't know that's happening. Has that been leaked or...?
It's been leaked, yeah.
Oh, it has been.
There have been tons and tons of articles on it.
Okay, yeah,
already.
Fair enough. But other than that, Elliot, what did you think of... what are your thoughts on this whole thing?
I disagree that it sucks. I don't think it does suck. In my eyes, for E3 to suck, it would need to mean there's only like 2 or 3, 5 at maximum that I would actually think I would enjoy. That's not the case. There are more than that I think I would enjoy. But I do think it's very, very underwhelming.
Okay.
Because with all the previous E3s that I've seen, at the very least, at this point, there's always at least one thing that I'm really, really excited for, which I haven't got, which I don't think, or at least something that's like really big and something that to really get people excited for. I don't think we've got that. Like, for me at least, in 2018 it was Devil May Cry 5. In 2019 it was Elden Ring. This year, there's nothing I'm really seeing that I'm thinking this is a definite day one purchase. Honestly, when it comes to Microsoft's one, I can guarantee if most of the things weren't on Game Pass, I likely wouldn't really be as bothered about getting them as I am.
Well, again, that's we already mentioned this in the Microsoft one. I'm the only one who's really, out of the three of us, that's really invested in the Microsoft ecosystem. And if you are invested in the Microsoft ecosystem, that presentation killed it.
But even then, like, there's barely anything I'm really excited for. Honestly, the thing I'm most excited for is Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle.
So far, obviously, Nintendo's going on in about an hour and 20 minutes from when we're recording at this exact moment. But that we're recording it. But to me, okay, there's a few points I want to make. One, no, Sony is not avoiding this because they think E3 sucks. They're avoiding it because they don't see the financial value in going to it. They like to do things more on their own terms. And I guarantee, when Sony does a State of Play in a couple of months, I don't think people are going to be that happy with it either. I don't think they've got much coming in the second half of this year. I think they've had so many delays, and these delays will likely be going into 2022. I think the only thing that has a very good chance of making 2021 at the minute is Horizon. On the other point,
even then, I'd probably say that's a bit of a stretch.
But do you think my point is accurate though? Or am I well off when it comes to PlayStation? Why they're not here?
Well, Nintendo haven't had a physical presence there for years, apart from demos.
Yeah, but I feel like with Sony, the reason they stopped going was, again, a financial decision, not a decision about the company. On the other point, Summer Games Fest. We were not that impressed with Summer Games Fest kickoff show. Like, everyone's acting like it was the greatest thing ever because they showed Elden Ring, but they forget most of that show was kind of dull.
Yeah. Aside of a few things like Salt and Sacrifice, Vampire the Masquerade, there's really not that much I'm really excited for. As I said before, when Elden Ring was announced, I stopped watching it because I just thought, nothing's going to top this.
One of the things, though, that bothered me a lot about it also was Jeff Keighley doing his whole "I told you so" tweet last night. Yeah. After he... now, he can't have it both ways. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad to say about Jeff Keighley in a professional sense. I'm sure he's a genuinely nice guy. But there's the things I didn't like about it was, one, you claimed the Ubisoft, Xbox, and Square shows were all part of your event, and then you changed your mind at the last minute and said screw them, they're now part of E3. Right? You can't say you can't act like that when it doesn't quite go your way. And maybe I'm reading too much into that, and again, I apologise if I am, but that's what it came off across as to me. And more to the point, I think people went into this E3... maybe people went into this E3 with too high of an expectations, because, let's be honest, this thing was put together very last minute.
Yeah.
And
it's kind of like the same reaction to the last Nintendo Direct. I think we can all agree... last Nintendo Direct we got was actually really good.
I liked the last one. We did a whole podcast about it, and we said we liked it.
They announced a lot. They showed there's a bunch of really cool things. I think we all really liked it, but I think because it had been hyped up for so long, people had way too high expectations for it.
Yeah, and I think with the three of us, we went in with a lot more casualer expectations, and as a result, we came out happier.
I think you have to admit, though, with us three, with this kind of stuff, we're a lot more optimistic and we're a lot more forgiving. I think.
I think there is a. I don't want to go that. I don't want to go that far, but I would say, I think we're more willing to take. I think I've learnt in the years of doing this sort of amateur sort of video game journalism. That and I will say I'm a complete amateur and really don't know what I'm talking about. Most of what I can get is from secondhand information. But one thing I would say I've really learned in that time is don't give devs a hard time, because at the end of the day, they're doing their best.
Yeah.
I get a sense, most of my time when I'm complaining about a game, I'm complaining more about the higher-ups that forced something out that wasn't ready, or them forcing these very talented people to make something that's not that interesting. And
take a look at Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I said when I wrote my review for that, I said I really feel sorry for the devs on this one, because it is not their fault.
Especially with all the crunch in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like when I heard Ratchet. One of the great stories this week, before E3 started, was that Ratchet and Clank had no crunch.
Yeah,
and that was just. That was a joy to hear to me, and that's the state we're in.
It's actually kind of funny because a lot of companies like Insomniac and Nintendo are very well known for not having crunch. I remember when we were still waiting for New Horizons, Nintendo delayed it specifically because they want to avoid a crunch period.
I'm not entirely trusting Nintendo on that one, but I will take at this point in time, until I get evidence to otherwise, I will say I think I believe you. I also, we have to take into account, though, COVID effects are still being felt right now. Like, take Square Enix, for example. They freely admitted they shut down completely for a few months after COVID that really took off. Can you imagine what the working conditions for people is, especially in Japan now, which is not in a great state? I was willing to cut a lot of these developers a lot of these publishers, I should say, a bit of slack going into this one, because I thought there won't be as much to show this year because of long development times. But I feel like people went in with a lot of very high and unnecessary expectations. Like, I did feel like some people say, of course Fable wasn't going to be in the Xbox show. That is well back in development. What are you on about? Oh,
yeah, I did. Like, Fable, I did not think at all would be there.
Like, it's being made by Playground Games, who are just finishing up Forza Horizon 5. They've got to get another team together to really get started on Fable. We don't see this game till next year.
At the earliest. In fact, if you ask me, it'll probably be like a 23 release.
What? No, I mean, we see the first new trailer for it in 2022.
I thought you meant like when it comes out. Yeah, my bad.
No, it's not coming out till at least 2023. I guarantee that much. What about you, Reese? So, anything you think is there anything where you think that this is justified, that the annoyance is justified, or do you think people went in with a bit too high expectations?
Yeah, people went in with too high expectations, because don't forget, with these dev teams, when they go home, they can't take work with them because they don't have dev kits at home.
Yeah, only really indie developers really had that option, which is probably why we've seen an explosion of really interesting indie games in the last few months.
Because all AAA studios, they have to license their equipment, so they can't afford to take them all home for each employee.
Like, do you know what? One of the things I said about 2020 was, it was the year I fell in love with indie games again. Because there were so many great ones. There was Haven, there was Hades. Yeah, Spiritfarer was great. Did you have one, Elliot?
No, I was going to say Spiritfarer. You beat me to it.
Oh, have you actually played Spiritfarer now?
Oh, Carry On as well.
Carry On was great, yeah. I finally got around to playing that. It's great. I was surprised that I was surprised you played Spiritfarer, Elliot. I thought I was the only one out of the three of us that did.
I haven't, but I've seen enough things about to think, yeah, it doesn't seem like my game, but it does ultimately seem really good. If I remember, it was Yassi Kurosh's favourite game of last year, which is really surprising.
It would have been my favourite indie game of last year if Hades hadn't come out. Put it that way. If you want to give it a try, it is on Game Pass.
Yeah.
But I will toot my horn about that game all day. It was the best life sim I played in 2020, and that includes Animal Crossing.
That's really surprising, actually. I thought Animal Crossing would be like... I thought Animal Crossing, honestly, for a good while, would be like your game of the year.
It was doing very well, but then a few games came out that sort of topped it. So I think that the point I'm making on this one is, to me, this E3 hasn't been that different. Well, I go into E3 with most of the things I'm going to see are not going to interest me that much, but I'll see about 4 or 5 things that will really excite me, and that's enough. And this year, I think I got that for the most part. I've seen... I really like the look of Stranger of Paradise. I like Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. There was a bunch of stuff at the Xbox show that made me really happy I own an Xbox.
Also, just to circle back to that, when we were doing our podcast, I accidentally said Starfield was a CGI trailer. It's not. It's actually in-game footage.
Oh, right.
With the engine. So I will stand corrected on that.
Okay,
it was in-game footage.
Right, so we got that correction in there. Any comments on that on the Xbox one, I will defer to this recording. The fact of the matter is, though, Capcom show did not need to be here.
No, it really didn't.
And it's annoying because I've said for years, why doesn't Capcom do an E3 conference? Because they've got enough franchises and enough really interesting games that they could justify.
Honestly, if you ask me, when it comes to like companies that can like probably do an E3 considering the amount of franchises they have, I say Sega's up there as well.
I think Sega now hand. If they, I think it would only work if they mentioned all the time all the stuff they're handing over to indie devs.
Yeah, because as we mentioned the other day with the arcades going bump, Sega's in a lot of trouble at the minute. So it can't financially sustain a lot of projects.
Do you think Sega is going to be purchased by one of the big console manufacturers on that question?
I think Sony may make a bid for it.
What about you, Elliot? Do you think Sega's going to be bought?
I can see that happening, though. I'm going to say if it does, I don't know who I would want it to be by. Probably say Nintendo.
See, I'm going to...
Though at the same time, that ultimately depends on what happened with their Yakuza series as well.
I've got a weird feeling about this one. Maybe on that basis, Microsoft might want to make a push for it, because they want to own a Japanese studio, and they get Atlas along with Sega. So I'd be very interested to see what Microsoft would do with having Atlas on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Oh god, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want Persona to be a Microsoft exclusive.
Well, the thing is, though, Microsoft are actually quite good about this, because keep in mind they don't keep their stuff on Xbox all the time. Remember, Obsidian's been owned by Microsoft, but Outer Worlds still went to PlayStation 4. It's likely Elder Scrolls 6 will go to PlayStation as well and PC. So I don't think they're going to hold... So if they bought Sega, I think they wouldn't hold it back all that much.
It would be something really, really weird for Atlas games to come on Xbox, though, because, as you said before, the only Atlas game to be on Xbox is Catherine.
Could you... here's another thing. Though I think Reese might be on something there with this one, because I get a sense Sony would want to keep... I don't think they would give a shit about Sonic or anything like that, but they'd want to keep Atlas because they want Persona to be a big part of their brand.
Especially because Persona and Shinigami Tensei have such a pedigree on the PlayStation.
Yeah.
Going all the way back.
Actually, now I think about it, that would make sense. So, don't Sega also own Bayonetta?
I think they own a...
Because I know while it is made by Platinum Games, I thought it was also published by Sega.
I think the first one was. The second one... Yeah. The second one is published by Nintendo.
Yeah, because it's developed by Platinum, and then no one wanted to publish a sequel until Nintendo stepped in.
So I think...
And Platinum went saying, without Nintendo, the second one wouldn't have been made.
Shows how out of touch with games news I am.
But the thing
is, somehow really in touch with anime news. I don't know how.
Well, the thing about Platinum in this instance is, so that could be an interesting thought. That's an interesting thought on that one. So we'll be back tomorrow with our thoughts on the Nintendo Direct, and
fingers crossed the best one. Fingers crossed the best one.
So here's
I have such high expectations for Nintendo. Come on.
Oh yeah, we didn't do what we think Scott's going to give it. I'm going to go for half a knee slap for this one.
Yeah, I'd probably go half a knee slap because it is really low.
I'd probably go for 1.
Yeah, he might do that, knowing him. What did he give EA Play 2019? That was a low score. I'm
not sure. I'd have to double check.
Okay.
Can't remember.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys tomorrow on that one. Well, thank you very much. Goodbye, guys.